So this is one of my favorite videos because how often have I heard over 20 years helping thousands of diabetics and people who have struggled with weight? Well, what is the diet? Give me the secret diet, as if there is a secret diet. So in this video, I'm actually going to talk about diet and what is the best diet and what is the best diet strategy that I've seen for long-term success with type 2 diabetics and people struggling with weight issues, because there's a lot of diets out there. So we're going to dig into that. We're also going to get into really the common sense approach of actually eating, and also some solutions that could actually help you know exactly what to eat. All right, so hang on. We have a lot of information and let's get started. So let me share my screen with you so you have a kind of a slide into this. All right, here we go. All right, so what is the best diet? All right, so as I mentioned, there's so many times someone's out there saying this is the diet, right? And if you're on social media, or if you're on, I don't know, even searching for videos, or even at a local bookstore and you're looking for a diet, you'll get to a bookshelf. It is riddled. All different authors, some celebrities, people who have lost weight, and they give you all their input and advice. Okay, so let's really actually deep dive into this, all right? So the first thing we look at is, well, what is a diet in the first place, right? What exactly does that even mean? Well, believe it or not, actually, a diet is anything you put in your mouth. So play along. If I eat a pen and a staple, right, or a paperclip rather, and I put that in my mouth, that is my diet. So if you eat junk food all day, if you eat cookies, cakes, and donuts, you're on a cookies, cakes, and donuts diet. If you're eating high fat, you're on a high fat diet. So it's pretty interesting, right? So it's really anything you put in your body. So let's look at all of these diets. So I went to Wikipedia and I searched out list of diets. Now on your screen, it may be a little smaller, but watch this, right? So there are belief-based diets, right? So there's the Buddhist diet, Hindu, you have Islamic, kosher diet, right? So these are types of diets. You have low-calorie diets, the 5-2 diet, intermittent fasting, which is kind of a popular thing now, right? It was a popular thing back in the day, but now it's come back, right? It's kind of like clothes, right? Like clothes go out of style and then it comes back in style, all right? You have the Body for Life, right? With Bill Phillips. That was a real popular one. He had a big business back then. Cookie diet, everybody probably likes that one, right? Hackers diet, Nutrisystem, Weight Watchers, right? People are familiar with that one. You have low calorie, right? So you have the tongue patch diet. That sounds pretty interesting. Then we have the low carb diets, right? Some of these have a little more fat to them as well, right? The Atkins diet, which became very, very popular back in the day, which was kind of interesting because he actually did this diet so you would have a good heart and cardiovascular system, and the guy died of a heart attack, right? Kind of weird. Anyway, so yeah, Atkins. You have the South Beach diet. That was very popular, right? Everybody want to look like you're in South Beach, right? And if you're in Florida, you know what that means. You had your crash diets. I remember the biggest one here, well, 1 and 2 was probably your cabbage soup diet and also your grapefruit diet. Now I'm going to tell you a funny story. So one time I was in the Tampa airport and Jarrett, the guy from Subway, who's no longer the rep, was actually in front of me. He was literally the person in front of me. And I felt so bad for the guy because we were going through our security, and there's that you go through all the lines. He was literally in front of me and everybody was looking, and I'm like, oh, is that Jarrett? Is that Jarrett? It was Jarrett. And Jarrett was right in front of me, like the guy in front of me. And I remember he was thin, but very not healthy looking, right? Like it was very flabby. It was very unstructured. He didn't look well. Now, did he lose the weight? Yeah, but he didn't actually look like very healthy, right? But I didn't talk to him. But actually, I'm lying. I did. Actually, at the end of security, this is so funny, right? Don't judge me, please. So at the end of security, he was like trying to grab his bag, and his bag was over my bag or whatever. And there was like in the airport, there was a different chain. I think it was Panera maybe or something. So I said to him, I was like, listen, if I see you at Panera, I'm going to call corporate and you'll be in big trouble. He just started laughing, right? Because I think like if you're the rep for Subway, you have to eat Subway food, right? It's like kind of the rule there. So anyway, long story short, so yeah, that was the Subway diet. Then we had juice fasting, the master cleanse. This was a big thing when I was in grad school. Everybody was into the master cleanse. which was really obviously a big problem. And then juice fasting, right? Juicing came out, probably about in the 90s, where everybody bought a juicer, and the guy named Harish was like a big promoter to this. All right, and then we have these other diets: elimination diet, diabetic diet, right, which is based on the American Diabetic Association, which is kind of a joke. Anyway, you have the gluten-free diet, keto diet. That's a big one. As a matter of fact, a really good friend of mine is probably the biggest guru in that area there, and so forth. So anyway, that's another diet. There's a liquid diet, the FODMAP diet. That's a big one as well. So then you have food-specific diets. You have the alkaline diet, baby food diet, carnivore diet. That's another one. What's another one? Macrobiotic. That's a pretty popular one as well. I never heard of the morning banana diet. That's pretty interesting. I guess you eat a banana every morning, right? That's probably self-explained. You have the superfood diet, Whole30 is now a more popular diet. Okay, so what else do we have here? We have protein powder. We have sugar busters. That was a big book that came out. The zone diet. So actually, I met the gentleman who wrote this book, and he was into like eicosanoids, and that was the thing he kind of was emphasizing. And ironically, when I was in grad school, I was just studying it. And there was some big discrepancies from what I learned in grad school to the way he was trying to present this particular diet. But I met him in Atlanta, and he was doing a convention there, so I happened to attend, and yeah, I didn't agree with everything he said. Anyway, so you have the 4-Hour Body, right? That was by Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. That was another diet that he put together, and so forth. So obviously, I can continue to go down. I think we see the idea, right? Wheatgrass diet was also a big thing. Some religions go into doing something like that. I like this, the werewolf diet. That's pretty cool. So anyway, as you can see, there are many different diets, and then you have the vegetarian diets. There's ones like if you eat like raw fruit, if you eat bee honey or not, if you and so forth. But I would recommend, certainly go and do your due diligence. But this is pretty exhausting, right? Like even me just going over this page, like all the different varieties of diet, it's like a little overwhelming. And I guess, a way you could do it is you go and you buy every one of these books and/or courses, and you try every single diet, right? And you do it for a few months, right? Very religiously. And you see the result of that diet, which in my opinion is brain damage. Like, I think that is absolutely crazy. I would never consider doing that when you look at all these different diets. Okay, so what is a diet? A diet is anything you put in your body. Okay, really important to understand that. Okay, so let's look at this, which is the best. And the way I summarized this was really simple, because I've seen so many people come to me and they've tried so many different diets. They tried this one and that one and this one and that one. And they wind up failing. And nobody wants to fail on a diet. No one wants to fail on their health. They want long-term success. They want long-term accomplishments of their body. They want to feel good, look good, potentially less than medication, but they're kind of not certain of what to do. All right. So let me give you my viewpoint on helping people functionally for so many years and with such a high success rate. The diet is your foundation. Okay, and let me really emphasize this. The diet and the food you eat is the foundation. It is not necessarily going to cure something, but there's really no hope if your diet is off. It's like building a house. You need a good foundation. You can build a really good house off of a good foundation. But if your foundation is off, it's really hard to get better. It's really hard to accomplish really anything. Okay, so I want to make sure that even though diet is important, like a foundation is important, it's not the only thing, right? There could be also overstressed organs in the body. There could be other things because of lifestyle and because of eating bad for a long time that could be out of place. So just because your diet starts getting good doesn't mean all these other things that you've done for so long and all the bad habits you had is now fixed. I'll give you an example. You see someone who's an alcoholic, they may create permanent damage to their liver. Or someone who really broke their metabolism or had major hormone shifts and locked out of place, you still got to fix those things, right? You still got to make sure those things go back in balance, and a diet doesn't do that typically, right? Sometimes patients meet with me that are diabetic and they're getting worse and they're taking all these medications, blood pressure pills, cholesterol pills, diabetes medications, and they're like, give me the diet. And I'm like, you're beyond that. Like, I'm not going to recommend celery flown in from Australia and that's going to be the fix all, right? Like, you have to get everything else in balance. All right. So let me get back to the point. What's the best diet? All right. So let's talk about this. First off, the best diet is one that you could stick to long term. Okay. So it's got to be something you could do long term. And this is why I see a lot of people with like who do keto or who do intermittent fasting. After a couple of years, you can't really maintain that. And the problem is that sometimes these things really stress the body. And as soon as you get off of it, right, even though I know there's some ways that people try to keep it long term, it really isn't good long term. I see a lot of lab issues that show up, liver and other factors. But also it winds up sometimes breaking the metabolism, all right, based on labs. I'm not based on like some book somebody wrote to publish. I'm saying based on labs. It's common sense, right? You want to do meats, fruits, veggies, right? Very little grains, and then stay away from junk, right? You don't need to be on this particular training to know that you should stay away from cookies, cakes, donuts, what have you, right? You should know to do that, right? That's not really good. All right. And then lastly, I like this kind of rule of advice, right? If you can't pronounce the damn food, right, it is likely not good for you. So if you're going there and you're like, oh, let me go try this particular product, and you're going and reading it, and you can't pronounce half of the things in there, and you're pretty good at pronouncing things, it's probably not good for you, right? I remember seeing something a long time ago about McDonald's, right? Now, their French fries, I think most people know this, but maybe you don't. The French fries have like 17 ingredients in them, right? Some sort of ridiculous amount of ingredients. But if you think about like French fries, right? I'm not saying to eat French fries, but I'm saying if you think about French fries, it should have like a couple of ingredients: potatoes, salt, oil. That's probably about it, right? Potatoes, salt, oil. That's it. What are the other, I don't know, 10, 15 ingredients that are still inside these McDonald's fries and other fast food chains, right? The point is that these things are chemicals, and it's not really designed for us to have that, right, in our body. So anyway, if you can't pronounce it, obviously, then it's probably not good for you, right? Keep it simple, stupid, is what my biochem teacher taught me in graduate school, meaning he made something very complex, very simple, and that's an easy way to understand it, all right? And then also on my website, if you haven't been to it, it's www.drjspages.com. I have tons of recipes. There's some courses in there. I have some really simple diets that are easy to follow. So if you go to my website, there are some recipes in there. They're really, really simple, all right? And the goal I like to always look at is when you keep it simple, it takes the brain damage out of it, and you can just get yourself better and get obviously moving in the right direction. Okay, so if you need any help, there is our support area where you can message us and ask questions and so forth. But that is support@drjspages.com. All right, so once again, I would not recommend going to Wikipedia and downloading and printing and reading all of those books, right? It may take you 20 years to do that, and then testing each one out. I think following this basic guideline, I think will help quite a bit. All right. So anyway, diet is what you put in your mouth. Put the right things in your mouth and you'll see better results. All right. So anyway, I hope you got a lot out of this. Have a great day. And I wish you nothing but the best in your journey to getting better. All right. Take care.